Turn me over, this side is done. These defiant words, whispered through pain, are attributed to a man facing a death of unimaginable cruelty. Were they a spark of humor in the face of horror, a final stand of courage, or a testament of faith that burned brighter than the flames? This is the story of St. Lawrence, whose fiery martyrdom became a beacon in the darkness of early Christianity, a symbol of resistance that still sears the soul. The year was 258 AD. The Roman Empire teetered on the edge of chaos. Emperor Valerian's edict rang out like a death knell. All Christian clergy were to be executed, their wealth seized for Rome's coffers. Christians branded as traitors to the empire's gods were hunted relentlessly. Lawrence, the Archdeacon of Rome, stood as guardian of the church's treasures and champion of the poor. When the Roman prefect demanded the church's riches, Lawrence asked for 3 days. His response would echo through centuries. On the third day, he presented not gold, but the destitute, the lame, and the forgotten, proclaiming, "These are the treasures of the church." This act of sacred defiance sealed his doom and birthed a legend. Enraged, the authorities sentenced him not to the swift mercy of the sword, but to a death by fire. Bound to an iron gridiron over glowing coals, Lawrence was roasted alive. Early church fathers like Ambrose of Milan attest to the execution's brutality, noting that Lawrence overcame the flames through faith. Tradition holds that he spoke those unforgettable words, "Assum est versa, et manduca." It is cooked, turn me over, and eat, a mix of defiance and divine irony, though scholars suggest they may carry symbolic weight rather than literal truth. What is certain is this: Lawrence's death was meant to terrify. Roasting a man alive was rare, reserved for those Rome wished to make examples of. Yet the fire meant to silence him only amplified his voice. Within decades, his tomb in the catacombs of Syriaca drew pilgrims, and the basilica of San Lorenzo, Fuori la Mura, rose as a testament to his sacrifice. Lawrence's martyrdom did not crush faith, it kindled it, lighting a path for generations. Flayed for faith, the skinning of St. Bartholomew. What does it mean to suffer beyond the body where faith alone holds you together? For St. Bartholomew, one of Christ's 12 apostles known as Nathanael in Eastern tradition, the answer came in a torture so horrific it defies comprehension. He was skinned alive. His mission took him far from Judea through Mesopotamia and perhaps India to Armenia, where his preaching sparked both salvation and rage. According to Eusebius and later hagiographies, Bartholomew's words converted many, including Polemius, a local ruler. But this drew the wrath of Polemius's brother, King Astyages, who saw the apostle as a threat to his gods and power. Astyages ordered Bartholomew's arrest, beating, and a death by flaying, the slow, deliberate stripping of skin from a living body. This was no mere execution. It was an attempt to erase his influence, to strip away his very identity. The Golden Legend recounts that Bartholomew praised God even as his flesh was torn away, his faith unyielding. After his flaying, he was beheaded, his body cast into the sea, only to be recovered by faithful Christians and enshrined on Lipari, later Benevento, and finally Rome, where San Bartolomeo all Sola honors him. Michelangelo's Last Judgment immortalizes him holding his flayed skin with a serene gaze, a testament to triumph over torment. Flaying sought to destroy Bartholomew's legacy, but it became his eternal witness. Faith cannot be peeled away. Dragged to death, the martyrdom of St. Hippolytus. What happens when a servant of empire becomes its victim? St. Hippolytus, a theologian of Rome's 3rd century, walked a path from schism to sanctity, his life ending in a death so brutal it resonates through Christian history. Known for his refutation of all heresies, Hippolytus was a scholar who once opposed the Bishop of Rome, earning accusations of division. Yet in 235 AD, under Emperor Maximinus Thrax's anti-Christian purge, he and Pope Pontian were arrested and exiled to Sardinia's deadly mines. There, amid grueling labor, Hippolytus reconciled with the church, finding unity with Pontian. Their shared faith led to a shared fate. Tradition preserved in the Acta Sanctorum claims Hippolytus was tied to wild horses and dragged across jagged terrain, his body torn apart as a warning to others. Though contemporary accounts are sparse, the story's symbolism endures. A man once divided from the church was united in martyrdom. Christians recovered his remains, and his tomb became a site of reverence. St. Jerome later hailed him as a giant of theology. Hippolytus's death transformed a scholar into a saint, proving that even the broken can mend through sacrifice. Tortured on the wheel, St. George's trial. How does a soldier become a legend, his truth shining through myth? St. George, famed as the Dragon Slayer, was a Roman officer whose real battle was against the empire he served. Born in Cappadocia around the late 3rd century, George rose in Diocletian's army, but faced a test in 303 AD when the emperor's great persecution demanded Christians renounce their faith. George, a believer, refused declaring his faith before Diocletian's court, an act of treason. The Passion of St. George describes his torment scourging poisoned molten lead and a torture wheel rigged with blades. Tradition claims he endured miraculously healed until his beheading in Nicomedia on April 23, 303 AD, now his feast day. Whether literal or embellished, these accounts reveal a man whose faith withstood unimaginable pain. His relics spread across the East, and his cult grew, making him patron of soldiers and symbol of spiritual defiance. George's wheel of torture became a wheel of glory, turning a soldier into a saint whose courage still inspires. Mutilated for faith, St. Agatha's silence. What does it mean to lose your voice, yet speak louder than ever? St. Agatha of Catania, a noble woman of 3rd century Sicily, faced a persecution that sought to silence her faith. Rejecting the advances of Quintianus, Sicily's governor, she refused to betray her vow of chastity or her God. According to the Passio Sanctae, Agatha, Quintianus imprisoned her in a brothel, then escalated her torment with iron instruments. When she remained steadfast, he ordered her tongue torn out, a savage attempt to end her prayers and witness. Yet tradition holds that Agatha's faith spoke through divine grace even in silence. A vision of St. Peter comforted her, healing her wounds, though further torture claimed her life in 251 AD under Emperor Decius. Her tomb in Catania became a pilgrimage site credited with miracles like halting Mount Etna's lava. Agatha's mutilation aimed to erase her voice, but it amplified her legacy, proving that faith speaks beyond the flesh. Video conclusion, visual. A flickering flame consumes an iron gridiron, fading to pilgrims at San Lorenzo's basilica. The camera pans across Michelangelo's Last Judgment, lingering on Bartholomew's flayed skin, then shifts to a quiet tomb in Catania under a glowing scarping. These martyrs faced the empire's cruelest torments, yet their suffering became a fire that lit the world. Their deaths were meant to silence faith, but instead they gave it a voice that echoes through time. Voiceover softens, a solemn hymn rises, fading to silence as the screen darkens. Dato, a lasting lesson. The martyrdoms of Lawrence, Bartholomew, Hippolytus, George, and Agatha reveal a timeless truth. True strength is not in resisting pain, but in embracing purpose through it. Their courage teaches us that conviction can outshine cruelty, turning suffering into a testament of hope. In a world still marked by division and oppression, their lives urge us to stand firm in our beliefs, to lift up the marginalized and to find unity in shared sacrifice. As Tertullian wrote, "The blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church." Their legacy calls us to sow seeds of compassion, resilience, and unwavering faith.